All right. A few of you guys were there yesterday. Thank you for coming out to that inspection field trip. Curious if anybody has any takeaways, any ahas, as well as maybe any suggestions for improvement. For the future, for yourselves or other agents. Anyone want to share?
I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed learning, obviously being newer. I have very little experience. I've gone on 2 inspections and I got that name from another realtor. So getting in with another and finding out like they have a dashboard we can do scheduling through and just learning about that, another company, another trusted vendor, was very informative. And if you all want to get a good laugh, I learned what a soffit is yesterday.
Do what?
Learned what a soffit was, huh?
Oh.
Can you explain to us what a soffit is?
It is the part from the overhang off where the air goes up into the attic. I honestly never knew what that word meant.
Okay, cool. If you Google image like soffit or like attic, you'll get like they have some diagrams kind of that show like how airflow is supposed to go in through a soffit vent and out through a ridge vent. Because I really didn't know that either before I got into the construction world. It's like it's not supposed to be sealed up. It actually wants air to come in and go out. So I'm glad you learned something. Anyone else? No? Okay.
I have a little sidebar regarding the soffit.
Yeah.
Over the summer, we had a roommate move in. This ginormous spider was making a home in our soffit, and the web was like huge. So I was like, I'm either moving out or I'm burning the house down.
Sometimes you get bats. Sometimes you get other critters and such. So yeah, the vents need to be there, but not big enough where things can get inside.
Yeah. In fact, he was so big that when Mike hit him with a broom, he dented the soffit. Like, I don't know if that was part broom, part spider, but yeah.
That's terrifying. So in the future, I thought it went really well. I would like, my feedback was some of the things that we talked about and brainstormed were, hi, Tammy, you got a visitor. Some of the things we talked about were maybe could have been done in a classroom setting, right? In terms of what, and again, it went great, but just I think in the future, maybe to gather more people, we could do either via Zoom or in a training room a little bit more about the kind of the preface of the inspection, and then when we're there in a home, do a little bit more of actually like, hey, let's pull the cover off the furnace. Let's look in there, and I'm going to articulate to the group what you see. It's really challenging on any house, let alone a smaller house with that many people there. But this is something that I think the home team's on board with doing on a regular basis. And it's a win-win, right? It educates you guys as well as develop some relationships with some inspectors and gets them to kind of make some relationships with you, hand out cards and put a face to a name so that hopefully you will use them right in the future. I know I will. So I appreciate them helping out. And for those of you guys showed up yesterday, I think tomorrow we have another one. It's going to be at Sharon's house. So again, because we want to do this again in the future, keep that in mind. If you run across a seller of a home that's in this area, this vicinity, run across a seller that would maybe be interested in a free pre-listing inspection, we would, and they'd be okay, obviously, with people coming through their home, we could do that at their home. So maybe plant that seed back there to keep in mind and bring it to Sharon, myself, or Pete for the future. Okay. So on that note, we just about wrapped up. Last week we had a break because of family reunion. Before that, we had wrapped up kind of a two-parter on the seller process, right? We kind of ended, I needed a refresher myself. I just looked and we kind of ended as reviewing the Alta statement, right? From when a seller, the culmination of a transaction, reviewing that Alta statement, that closing statement with the seller's numbers and such. to determine, to show them what the debits and the credits and stuff look like, and how they're going to be, what they're going to be netting when they close and actually get their money. So what I wanted to do is kind of start that. I know it's a little bit reversed, but I want to start that with buyers right now. Kind of segues exactly into what we were previously talking about with getting offers accepted and stuff. So let's run through the buyer process, and it'll probably be a two-parter as well. I really want to put a lot of emphasis on what, this environment that we're in, right? The extra steps that I take that you should be taking in terms of getting your buyers' offers accepted, because therein lies one of the biggest challenges we have right now. Okay. Sound good? Can I get some enthusiasm? You guys, it's so hard to talk with someone when no one gives me any feedback.
All right.
Yay. Thanks, Carson. Thanks.
Welcome.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
What do you see?
I see the Google Docs tracking sheet and other things in there.
Okay, cool. So one thing that I want to, wait till we get there. I'm trying to, I don't have multiple screens going right now, so I'm trying to deal on one screen is kind of challenging. So as everybody know, in coaching, in the coaching Google Drive, we have this folder called Launch. For those of you that have gone through Launch, still reference it because it's got all these things that we're talking about here in the different sessions. I think session 4 has the buyer process. Yep. So can you guys see my screen? It says step-by-step process, buyer side. Okay. So we get to have a whole class on generating leads conversions, but I don't want to focus on that necessarily right now. But in order to work with a buyer, obviously you have to generate the lead, right? And just giving feedback on some of the agents that I talk with in terms of this, you don't necessarily have to wait for a buyer or a potential client to say, hey, I want to buy a house. What are the next steps? I think it's really important for you guys to proactively, get someone to commit to discussing with you, even if they're just thinking about it, right? And what do I mean by that? When you're making your contacts, you're having conversations with people, you're going to run across people that say, yeah, I have, I want to buy a house in the next few years. Great. That should be like a little ding that goes off in your mind and gets you on a path of discovery. And when someone says, I'm looking to buy a house in the next 2 years, or I'm looking to buy a house in a year, I want you to be of the mindset like, great, let's sit down and talk about the process. Let's do a buyer consultation now, right? It doesn't have to be, especially compared to a listing, right? If someone wants to list a house, I can get a house listed in 4 or 5 days, right? I can rush really quickly. If someone wants to buy a house, they may have to put things in certain order and do certain things in order to get on in the process to be able to put themselves in a position to buy, whether that means saving money, burning their lease, improving their credit score. Right now, what might hinder some people from buying is that they haven't filed their taxes yet for 2020, right? So they need to get that in order. So there's a lot of different things that people might have to do. And I think it's important as an agent to put together that plan, right? Because if you don't do it, guess what's going to happen? Someone else is going to do it, right? They're going to meet someone at an open house. They're going to talk with an agent, right? You need to engage them early on in the process, right? I have a pipeline of buyers that are before they're actively looking, right? And that's what I kind of want to impress to you guys to do as well. Okay, so anybody who says, yep, basically anyone who says, I'm not going to die in this home, right? I'm going to do something in the next few years. Great, let's sit down and grab a coffee or talk about it. I'd love to tell you what's going on in the market. They say, well, no, I'm not looking to buy anything. No worries. Hey, quite honestly, I just like talking about the market. I found a little bit more about you and catch up, right? Especially your sphere of influence and things, people you haven't been able to see or talk with. And if you can't meet in person, there's nothing wrong with doing Zoom. right? You can sign up for a free Zoom account. I think it's limited to 45 minutes, or you can do FaceTime or just a phone call. I think it's best to have face-to-face, but whatever is necessary. The point is to have a scheduled appointment where they're taking it seriously. They know what the intentions are to talk about, and that they, you treat it like they're a client, like you're a professional, which you are. So I always love setting up a buyer consultation. I think it's super important, guys. I have done, and I know Sharon, I know a lot of other agents have done, where the first time that I'm even a close friend, the first time that I'm talking with them about the buying process is when we're where? At a property we're showing. And I'll tell you what, it's challenging, right? Because people are excited to get in, go see homes, right? But you assume, even if they've already bought a home before, that like they know the process and they know what you're going to do for them. But that's not the case. And they're going to be there at that property, and maybe they'll love it and they want to put an offer. And then you're trying to cram in all the things that you should have addressed previously before you have to put an offer in at 6 p.m. Right? It's a joke, but I've been there.
Yeah.
Right? You agree?
Yeah.
So buyer consultation, it doesn't have to be something that is super intimidating. It's simply a meeting or a conversation about what they're looking for, right? And discovering what it is that they want in a new home, and you talking about it. I think it's important for you to listen more than you talk.
So
You're on mute, I think.
I know, I've been keeping myself on mute because I don't want to echo for you. Just to go back to what Matt said about just because somebody, let's say friends or family, had bought a house before. I mean, the house that I live in now, we purchased in 2004. I don't remember having an inspection on that house. I mean, I know I did. I don't remember anything except signing it. I remember going to look at it. People forget quickly details and things like that. And the process has changed over the years. I mean, I just was sitting downstairs with somebody because we just sold a condo of theirs. They want to buy something now. And I had to go through all of it again, things that I would think that they knew. So don't underestimate the value of just hitting all the highlights at least and talking about some of that stuff. They will appreciate it, because even though they're not telling you, they feel lost if it's been a while since they've purchased something. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, things have changed a lot, right? I've had buyers come along and mom and dad are there, because that's pretty common these days with younger people. And they say, well, when we bought this, and it's different, right? Especially people like, well, we would never pay over asking. It's a different market right now. It's a different market than it was 6 months ago, right? So it's important to set those expectations up front. It will alleviate a lot of issues and will make a better experience for everyone. I just opened up and I started not changing it, but revising it a little bit, because it wasn't the same font, and it was bugging me. But this document's in the launch, I think session 3. It's a copy of a buyer questionnaire, right? You should have something similar that you kind of do for a pre-listing appointment to find out some information before you do a CMA. But this is something that you can kind of take and jot down notes, or just use as a framework for questions, because you might be stuck not knowing what to ask or whatnot. This is just asking them about, the things that are important to them, what they're looking for in a new home, and lots of different questions. So use that to what you will. I'm going to continue to edit that because that's bugging me. But this is something that you could bring with you, print it out, and you just kind of keep on track to write notes while you're in a listing or a buyer's consultation. Okay. What I typically, and I'm working on revising this for myself, but more of a client guide, but a lot of times people bring something to a buyer consult. I was in command this morning looking up, because I have something, right? I use something. It's not anything fancy, but something printed or something that you can email. And there is, this is in command. There is, I'm just going designs, print, new design, print designs, just to see the templates there. There are listing presentations as well as buyer presentations in here, and they're all editable. These are 5 different ones depending on your style, the look that you want or whatever, but they're all editable, right? For you to either download. I don't know what form they're in. You can only download them in here or edit them in here, and then you have to download it as a PDF. I'm not sure, probably. Anyways, you can specifically make one for a specific client. I would prefer to make a generic one that I can just easily have saved and then print out or email when I need to. But there's a whole bunch of different things to talk about. Talk about the interest that they're looking for, what type of neighborhood they're looking for, and then kind of how the home buying process works, right? So these are the little checklists, right? So it's kind of something cool to keep for them to hold on to be able to reference throughout the process. And it will help you kind of stay on track as you are going through this, right? Maybe you don't go into it super deep, but you kind of highlight the most important levels, right? And then it kind of talks about KW as a company, trusted partners that you work with, and all these pages, they can be used. They can be included or not included. It's completely up to you. I like this one, commonly used terms, a little glossary at the end. So when buyers, what's EMD stand for? What's appraisal? What does equity mean? What does escrow mean, right? They've got these like little description or definitions here. Kind of cool, right? And you can build upon that too. These are good, just templates for you, framework. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Don't start from scratch. Find something and then make it your own. That's my suggestion. There's also there is a buyer's presentation. Sharon had one. I think I put one in there too. It's just, but something to get you started, right? Again, I don't want you guys reinventing the wheel. Okay.
Yep. The one you just had up was where?
This is in session 3 folder. Oh, these?
Yes.
These are in, okay, so they're in, I breezed through that. In command, designs, create new designs right here. Yep.
Okay.
Create new design, the bottom plus.
Yep.
Print a print design. That's not printed out, but a print design. And then on the left hand, there's all the different ones you can start with. And again, those are templates. And this one was under buyers. There's also for sellers, there's listing presentation templates. Or you can combine the two, like, right, you have to do a little bit of work if you just want one package, right? One that applies to buyers and sellers. So it's completely up to you, but they're there. And again, editable. Word of advice, if you're editing it, save it often as you're working through it, because I've heard of people have some issues. So,
hey Matt,
yeah.
So you said print it so you can take it with you.
If that's your style, yeah. Some people prefer to have something paper tangible to give, and then they can write notes on it or give it to their client. Sometimes they want to email it right to your buyer. Maybe if you set an appointment to meet on Saturday, you might email it ahead of time and then bring it just pulled up on your computer. Right? You can't really write it on it. It just depends on how, what works for you, what you prefer.
And those can be downloaded, Matt? Good morning.
Yeah, they can be downloaded as a PDF and saved or emailed. Yeah. Sometimes if I'm in a hurry or if I don't have time to come to the office because I don't have a printer at home, I'll just have it on my computer. And I'll just present, my computer like basically as a sheet.
But you have to complete it in command. You can't download it and then save it and work in it.
I believe so. Correct.
Okay. Great, thanks.
Unless you're some sort of Photoshop wizard or something, which is well beyond my pay grade. Okay, so buyer questionnaire will keep you on track. Let's move along. Buyer consult, again, just went through the framework of it. Takeaway from the buyer consult: if they've been pre-approved, great. If they have with like an online lender, like a Quicken, I'm probably going to refer them to my own lender as well. I'm just going to say, hey, simply as you should have some options. Yeah, Doug.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. So, because I think there's 3 different pre-approvals. There's a pre-qualification, a pre-approval, and then there's one that goes through underwriting. It seems like the ones that go through underwriting is a little bit more popular now. Is that a true case or is it not?
Yeah, so a pre-qual is simply something someone can probably get really quickly. It just pulls their credit and they fill out their income, and it's just a service very quick, right? A pre-approval is a lender is actually reviewed all of the documents that substantiate their income, looked at their credit score, reviewed their debts and things. I'm not sure about the last one that you talked about with an underwriter actually reviewing it all.
Yeah, well,
Every lender might call it something different, but essentially I'm looking for a pre-approval, right? Not just a pre-qual.
the only reason I was asking is because my client went through Quicken Loans, the one I just sold, or we bought, and they said going through the underwriters is almost like same as cash. They're already pre-approved. It's like a guarantee to close. And then I was at some seminar at a mortgage company yesterday, and they said they did the same thing. So I'm just trying to figure out, is that something?
Yeah, it's a pre-approval, but I'll be careful with it's good as cash because nothing's ever guaranteed anything because it still has to do what? Final approval and then appraisal, right?
Right.
But
so,
in
Doug,
other words,
I just had that on my deal that I'm doing. I got the pre-approval from Amanda at Silverline. She said it was with the underwriters, and from the time we did our offer and everything, it did come back of like we needed to tweak some stuff, so we added someone onto the loan. So like to me, the underwriting process was just more detailed and like official than the pre-approval.
Yeah, because you'll see on a pre-approval or a pre-qual letter the conditions, right? And a pre-approval, it'll say we've reviewed assets and income, and all the only things missing are appraisal and satisfactory purchase agreement, right? So it's very moved along in the process, but that doesn't mean it's quote unquote guaranteed. But they might pitch it that way. It's a pre-approved buyer is as good as cash. It's not exactly, but I get it.
Closer than.
Yeah, closer than just a
Quicken
pre-qual.
Loans is promising that now too. They're doing a guaranteed to close loan, which is essentially getting the people that are doing the quick pre-qual to do a pre-approval with them. That's how they're wording it.
That's all it said is they actually came back and, I talked to the lender. He said, this is good as cash. So
yeah, I just be careful with that. Any listing agent that you tell that to is going to laugh at your face.
Well, they laughed at my email maybe.
But so sometimes buyers come along and they've already spoken with a lender or their credit union or their bank. If not, great, that's your time too. But that's my homework. So I have like the next steps after. So after a buyer presentation, and we actually did a buyer presentation. There's a video recorded, right, Sharon? I think you and I did a buyer presentation role play.
Yeah.
I think it's in the YouTube channel. So review that to spend more time on this. But we're going to jump forward basically.
There's tons on YouTube. I mean, you can find that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff for buyer presentations and buyer consults. But my takeaways after is great. This is the next steps, right? You always want to make sure that you reiterate what the next steps are. The next steps for me is I'm going to put you in touch with the lender. It's important, just like I don't like just giving out my business card. I don't want to just give them the name of a lender. I'm actually going to send an email. So I'm going to send an email. It's going to be to Brent or Kelly or someone, right? It's going to be, hey, Kelly, such and such. Here's my buyer, and I've included them on this. They're excited. We just met. They're looking for a home in Novi, up to blah blah blah. Pritesh, this is my buyer that I just referred to somebody. Pritesh, that so and so is a top, mortgage banker in their field. They're going to take care of you, blah blah blah. And that's an email that goes to both of them, right? So they've got, and then Kelly in that instance, Kelly, Pritesh's information is such and such, whatever. So I'm connecting all the dots for them. I'm not just putting it in their hands. Yeah. And aggressive.
I just did that an hour ago downstairs.
Awesome.
It was a text, group text. Hey,
yeah.
so blah, 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 talk to each other. And then
yeah. And that's an important point. I usually like to ask them, how would you prefer, right? Is it are they text people? Are they email? Would you prefer a phone call, right? It's up to them. But usually an aggressive person, mortgage person, be like, okay, great. Thank you so much for connecting us. When is a good time for us to talk? And then I'm also going to set them up in a portal, right, through the MLS. And that's going to be the basic search portal. I think it's important to, especially right now, because we have low inventory, to maybe have that portal expanded a little bit more than what they're talking about. They're like, yeah, we want a 3,000 square foot home. Maybe I'm going to put 2,500 square foot plus in their search parameters, right? So if they say, I want to spend up to 450, maybe I'm going to do, 350 to 5, right? And I'm not trying to convince them to show that there's more homes on the market, but in a more balanced market, that house that's 5 might be something that they would be willing to stretch to, right? Now that house that's 5 is probably going to go for more, but my point is that I leave a little bit of a buffer zone, all right? That makes sense. So, and then they're going to start receiving that email for homes. I'm going to set the expectations of what we talk about, right? Again, I don't want to harp on a buyer presentation. I'm going to talk about FSBOs. I'm going to talk about homes that they see on Facebook and all this kind of stuff. But let's pretend they've gotten that pre-approval in hand. Great, and they've seized houses, and we want to go see houses. Awesome. I set the expectations that I prefer to show more than one home at a time under normal world. This day and age, if a property pops up that's an option, you might just have to drop what you're doing and go see one home, right? And that's just the nature of how quickly the market's moving right now. Some people, I used to, before I go show a home, I would have all the seller's disclosures printed out. I would do the CMA in the house or whatever. And, I don't think if you have time, right, I don't think that's a bad thing to do, but it's kind of unrealistic to do with every property you're going to show. Because again, your time is if you have time to be able to print out the seller's disclosures and stuff like that, great. What bugged me about the old app, and I don't know if you knew this or not, the old RealComp app did not have access to seller's disclosures and things that were attached. Now the HomeSnap Pro app does. So when you're at a property, you can actually, on the HomeSnap Pro app, which is direct feed from a RealComp now, that is our app. The RealComp one no longer works. You go on, you find the listing that you're looking at, you can actually scroll, and the seller's disclosure and lead-based paint is in that.
I did not know that.
So, little tip. So you don't always have to print it out, especially if you're in a rush. Yeah.
I got a question about that HomeSnap Pro app.
Yeah.
I haven't used it because to me, just on the face of it, it seems like, do you use it for yourself or are you sending it out to your clients? Because to me,
no, I don't do anything with my clients, but I use it as,
okay.
Especially when I'm at a property, like,
okay,
I'm using it as my reference guide for all the details of that home. Right. Because
right.
I used to always have things printed, but I'm such on the go now and I don't have a printer at home. I just pull it up. It's kind of my reference when I'm showing a property. I don't really interact with clients with it. I don't send it to them or anything like that.
Okay. Because that was the one concern. I haven't looked at it, used it or anything, because I thought, well, I want to have people driven to my app, not to this other app. But so to use it within the scope of what we do for ourselves, you recommend using it and
yeah, it's a direct feed from the MLS. It's got like the listing. It's essentially what you would see in RealComp, right?
Okay.
Is it this tab right here?
Yeah, can you show us what it looks like?
It's in the App Store, and then once you download it, you log in using your RealComp credentials. It looks like this. Can you see the top left? Why can't this is hard. So it's got a little blue house.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the App Store, at least Apple, because that's.
It's called HomeSnap Rental and House.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yes, because I looked up, I have an Apple now. I looked up HomeSnap Pro, look.
Oh, you're right. HomeSnap Rental and whatever. Yeah. So, and then once you download it, you use your RealComp credentials to log in. And you should stay logged in. And then you're basically and they'll try to upsell you a premium version. You don't have to have that. Yep. So I use that as a reference when I'm there. I'm looking, again at the seller's disclosures and things. But it's not a huge desire for me to have all this stuff, because if we walk in, they don't like it, I just wasted all that time. Now, if they like it, I'm going to go back and I'm going to spend more time, seeing what the property is worth based on comps and stuff. Yeah, sure.
I will say that, like, in this market, if it's something that you think they're going to like, right, because you have a pretty good idea, I will quickly, if I have time, but I'll try and make the time to quickly run like a super fast comp. It's like highlight the MLS number, throw something in there that says, active, pending, and sold within a quarter mile of that MLS number, bam, and just super fast, kind of look at what the prices in the neighborhood might be. Because a lot of times for my clients, like they're going to say, well, is it worth this? Is it overpriced? You know, because they're probably going to have to go over list. So I want to be able to say, this thing is well priced. It's definitely going to go over list, or it's really high right now, you know, whatever, just so I'm not saying I'll go home and figure it out as we're trying to throw an offer together.
Absolutely. Especially if you don't know that area super well. Your clients will say, is this something that's going to go fast? If you had that quick thing printed out, not of that home necessarily, but like the most recent ones, they've all gone like a day or two. I mean, it's probably going to sell. You know, I'll spend a little bit more time. You're digging into the value of how high we might be able to go to justify based on comps, so you can have some peace of mind if you want to put an appraisal guarantee in. But it is something that will probably go relatively quickly. So, I don't necessarily. There's mixed thoughts on this. If I schedule an appointment to go see, I know some people call the listing agent ahead of time. Is this available still? I don't make those calls, assuming the showing is accepted. I don't make those calls until my buyers are interested. Either I'm leaving the property and they want to potentially put an offer, and then I'm calling the listing agent saying, hey, my buyers are interested. Do you have any offers on the home? I assume, and it's not always the case, but I assume if it's available for showing, it is available. I would always review the agent or the agent remarks. A lot of times agents are putting, if there's multiple offers or if there's an offer deadline, they're going to put that in the agent remarks or the showing time details. So always look there, right? I've had deadlines on Saturday recently and Sundays. So if it's a hot property, it goes on the market Tuesday, Wednesday, it's probably going to have a bunch of showings. You may even have a hard time getting in, right? I don't know if anyone's had experienced that. The default for showing time is no overlapping showings. You can tweak that if you want, but most agents have been leaving it. But what they do is they change the time to a maximum of 15-minute windows. You know, Doug had this happen to him. You know, that's just simply, they don't, my opinion, they don't really expect you to be in and out in 15 minutes. But the point is that they can fill more people in their slots if they have shorter periods of time without them technically overlapping. Now, people are going to be late. People are going to be running early. You're going to be there probably at the same time as other agents. And that's a different discussion in terms of what the proper thing is to do. But,
Matt,
and you can kind of see that when you go to schedule showing time, unless you're doing it from the app, you can see the blocked out time. So if you are scheduling an appointment and you see all this black, you're going to just know that there's a hell of a lot of activity on it. It's probably going to be a multiple offer situation. Yeah. Who was that?
That was me.
John.
Yeah. What I ran into recently was agents were, even with a half-hour block, agents were stepping on each other's toes. They were showing up early, doing whatever. And there was more than one agent in the house at a time. So, yeah, just understand it's getting back to be like the wild, wild west out there where just about anything goes, and people are putting up with it. So, yeah. 15 minutes is, that's just not doable unless you have the kind of client that knows immediately whether they like the house or not. So
I agree. So yeah, so what so I schedule the appointment, right, to see the home. Again, listing agents are extremely busy. So if you call ahead of time,
Wait, can I say?
Yes.
Perfect.
Wait, unmute yourself, Sharon.
I set an appointment about an hour and a half ago for a condo. I actually tried to call the agent to find out if it was still available. He didn't answer. I called his office and they said they'd get back to me, and an email just came through that said there was a status change. I'm so annoyed. Hold on. I'm sure it went pending. So I'm annoyed. There you go. It happens. Sorry.
And when did it go live?
7 days.
7 days. Oh, it's been live 7 days. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's different rules.
Accepting backup offers.
Yeah. So the rules are, some agents are kind of jerks about this, but if you go under contract, you should change it to either CCS, pending, or ABO. It should not still be active if you have a signed agreement accepted on it. And some agents say, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to change it until they're past contingencies. Well, inspection contingency is one. That could be 5 to 7 days, but then appraisal contingency could be 30 days. So if you run into that, if it's still active and they say they have an accepted offer, you can actually submit I don't know if it's anonymous. They don't know who it is, but you can submit, you can report them. And I encourage you to do so because it's a bad practice, in my opinion. If you do have an accepted offer and you want to still show it, change it to ABO. All right. So on that regard too, when I'm setting up a portal for my clients, make sure that you're not just setting active. Your search isn't just active. It is actually also CS coming soon. Okay. So that's important. We had a hard time with that when we first got that new status, because all these people that had portals set up, they didn't have them set to be CS. Well, CS is coming soon. So a property might come on the market Tuesday as a coming soon with no showings available till actually Friday, right? But that's still something you want your buyers to see, right? Of course. So make sure they have CS and active. ABO just means that they are accepting backup offers, and CCS means that it's contingent. It's an offer has been accepted contingent upon the sale of that buyer's home. Now, the thing about CCS is that typically they have a first right of refusal clause, meaning if your buyers come in and submit an offer, they will have to go back to those original buyers and say, hey, shit or get off the pot. So it is still an opportunity to get the house. And I'm happy to talk about that a little bit more. We're not seeing too many of them right now, but that potentially will be out there in a balanced market. So you go to the home, you show it, or let's say you show up, the agent's there, this is relevant right now. If there's other people there, I always say, hey, let's take a look at the outside, right? Let's take the opportunity instead of just standing there like a doofus in the driveway. Let's walk around the outside. Let's see what we can see outside, especially if the weather's nice. This isn't such an issue now, but be aware of the time of day you're showing a home, right? I mean, buyers are available when they're available, but you're not going to be able to see much of the outside if you go show a home right now at 7:30, right? It's a little bit different. Days are getting longer right now, but just keep that in mind, okay? Or check out the outside first if it's getting dark, then you can go inside. I always knock at the door. If I see another agent there, I'll open the door and say, hey, I'm here for a showing at such and such time. Are you guys almost wrapped up? You know, some agents are going to say, give us a minute. Some agents are going to say, hey, we're upstairs, come downstairs. There is that 4-person in the home rule, but if you just stay there, people might just keep backing up behind you. So you just kind of roll with the punches, but be polite. And of course, some agents are not going to reciprocate that, but it is what it is. Yeah, sometimes they lock the door and they don't allow you in. Sometimes they've taken the key out. So you just, you put your best face forward and try to roll with it, but don't let it fluster you. Walk through the home. And we're going to actually do some training in the future about actually what to do when showing a home, because it seems like such a simple thing, but it is something that you gain some experience over time. What you should be looking for, what should be pointing out, right? Because buyers are just, they're walking around and they're typically just enamored by things.
I think that would be helpful. I was able to shadow Megan on an open house early on in my career, I guess. And it was helpful to be able to hear her, what she responded to, how she responded to questions, how she had those open-ended questions about, as she's walking through the house, pointing some of the special things out. And that would actually be a cool little field trip, or we wouldn't have to do a field trip, but I think that'd be helpful, because I found it helpful just hanging out with Megan early on to hear what she, talked about.
Awesome. Yeah, the biggest challenge right now is just inventory of properties. I mean, we had a bunch of especially vacant homes. It was a little different, but I'd like to do the same thing in terms of role playing open house. How from someone walks into the door, what to do, how to greet them, how to tour them around, how to keep that distance, but at the same time, add value and ask questions and discover. So yeah, especially as the weather gets a little bit nicer. Buyers walk through the home. They really like it. They say, okay, Matt, I think we're interested in making an offer. Great. Typically they're going to stand in the driveway and they say, what are they going to ask? What do you think we should offer? And this is, I always have I don't know why, I always have a hard time with this one because like, I don't know what it'll take to win that house, nor do I know what they're even thinking, right? So I always put it back on them a bit. And I use the information that I do have to, propose a couple of different scenarios. If I think it's property that's super hot, has a ton of interest, I'm just going to be upfront with them. Say, guys, house looks great. We just walked through it. There's a line behind us. I saw all the showings blocked. They haven't called for highest and best, but I suspect they're going to. We need to come in really strong. And this really, then
how bad do you want it?
Yeah. How bad do you want it? This is where it's really important to have that proper buyer presentation already done and to have them have reviewed or have copies of a blank purchase agreement and things, and have you already have talked about an appraisal guarantee and all this stuff. Because if you haven't and you're bringing it up, then their minds are going to explode because it's a lot, right? It's an emotional thing. And then they're trying to not get too invested in it because they might not win it. It's a challenge, right? But I'm going to be able to have that conversation to say, here's what I'm going to do, guys. Why don't you guys go and discuss it? You grab dinner, go home, whatever. Figure out what, you want to offer based on the things that we talked about. I'm going to reach out to the listing agent. All right, great. I'm going to then get on the horn with the listing agent, right? I know a number of people have heard this number of times and do this, but what am I going to say? What questions am I going to ask them? The listing agent.
What's important to your seller?
Let's script that out. Who is that just said that?
Sarah.
Sarah, ring, ring. I'm the listing agent. You're the buyer's agent.
Wait, sorry. Say again.
I'm the listing agent. You're the buyer's agent. You just toured your clients through and they really loved it.
Okay. So I'm calling you.
Yes, you are.
So you say hello.
Hi, yep. Hello.
Hi, this is Sarah Angevine from Keller Williams. We just toured your property at 1234. Clients are interested in possibly making an offer and just wanted to reach out to you and see, one, how much interest there was, if you have other offers, and also what was important to your clients.
Great. Yeah, Sarah, a ton of interest. I have a few offers in hand already. My sellers are they haven't told me exactly what they want to do, but we'll probably do a cutoff for best and final offers by 6 p.m. on Sunday. So I don't know how many we'll have, but it seems to be a hot property. It's really nice, as you could tell. They've taken really good care of it.
Great. Well, I will get back with my clients and get back to you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah, for role playing with me. It's really important to ask something critical, which is what? Anyone?
Where do I need to be?
Doug just gets right to the point. Where do I need to be? Let's change that up a little bit, Doug.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah, Phil.
Ask about the appraisal to ask, get their feel for where it would appraise. Personally, no. I am going to,
really high.
Yeah, only if they're really high. If I can't justify their listing price, I might ask that question. I'm going to run on the assumption that they've priced it right based on the list price. Now, depending on how higher it goes from list price, it might have a problem appraising. But the question that I'm going to ask is, Sarah, hey, Sarah, my buyers really love the home. They're interested in making an offer. I'm sure you're going to have a bunch of offers, but let me ask you this, Sarah, besides price, because obviously that's super important to everyone. Besides price, what else is important to your sellers? I noticed that it's occupied, right? Their furniture is in it. Doesn't look like they've started to pack up. Is occupancy important to them? Is it really important to them to have a really short inspection period? Right? That's particularly important if you notice in the history that it went off the market and went back on. They might have been messed around with a buyer who took a long time to inspect it and then backed out. So it depends on every situation. I will tell you, most listing agents, they'll just kind of draw blank. Some listing agents will more emphatically be able to give you some feedback. Matt, this is a hot property. It's probably going to go for above ask. What my sellers are going to be looking for is a strong pre-approved buyer. Hopefully, probably above ask. And if it goes above ask, some sort of a guarantee, appraisal guarantee covering that difference. Also, because they haven't found their new home yet, they're looking for some occupancy. Ideally, that would be free, right? They're going to tell you what they want or need. Okay. And I appreciate that. Doesn't mean that's what you have to give, right? They're working for your client, their client, you're working for your client, but, it's going to give you some, you don't ever assume anything, like for instance, and we talked about this a couple of sessions ago. I had that conversation. They said, no, they don't need any occupancy, but they do have a boat that they want to move and they don't want to do that until the weather's a little bit nicer. I said, okay, and filed that away. So in our offer, it was like, well, you have 2 weeks of occupancy post-closing, just so we can ensure we'll get past the period of snow and the weather will be a little bit nicer so your seller can remove that boat, right? So it's really important to listen to them, to give them, try to tailor your offer to whatever what's important to the seller.
Yeah, I was just going to say before you brought that up that 9 times out of 10, you're going to get the same answer. Yes. Above list, give me appraisal guarantee. It's the same thing, but every now and then, like with the boat thing, something will pop if you ask the right way, and that can make or break it for you.
That's what just happened with what I did is I asked exactly what I said in our thing of what's important. She came back with a 1 sentence, basically price. I didn't ask or add on to that for about occupancy. Then she came back after we submitted the offer asking for occupancy, and it was fine, but it took another day of my buyers sitting there being nervous about not getting it because we had
absolutely. And in a multiple offer situation, you might not have the ability, that flexibility to go back and forth, right? You could simply lose it over one person gives 60 days of occupancy when you only offered 30 and your buyers were willing to give 60, but you just didn't because you didn't ask or know to ask, right? So yeah, absolutely. Maybe it's, hey, my sellers really want to bring their washer and dryer with them that they just bought that are these fancy schmancy. I don't care. Cool. We'll exclude that from the PA, and I'm going to make a big deal out of the fact that we're not asking for it. Right. So it all depends. Everybody's a little bit weird, a little bit specific. Right. I've had someone they really want to remove the tree. Like they literally had a tree in their yard and they wanted to remove the tree and bring it to their next house because a family member that passed away had given it to them as a gift. Cool. I'm happy to write that in the PA. Right. So you don't know unless you ask. I'm also going to ask, do you have any offers right now? Right. I'm going to go down this path of assuming that they do have a bunch. Right. And I'm going to try in a polite way because I'm kind of kissing the listing agent's ass right now. I mean, quite honestly, I don't know, Sharon, how you feel, but you're trying to make a really great impression and, you are looking, to get to be remembered and to get your offer accepted. I'm also going to, before I get off the phone with them, I'm going to say, hey, so if my clients do decide to write an offer, how best would you like me to communicate with you, Mr. Agent? Right. I see that your email address in your agent remarks, is that the best one to send an offer to? Great. If I do that, I'm also going to shoot you a text just so you know to look for it. Cause sometimes I know it goes to spam. You are being super nice and trying to put it to them on a silver platter. Right. And then I'm going to go back to my buyer and I'm going to say, hey, this is what we talked about. Right. And this is what the stuff, I'm going to maybe at that time, do a little bit of CMA, show them how much houses are going for, discuss what they want to do and write up the offer.
I don't know if jitters ever go away, but when you're dealing with the listing agent, I notice, they're really in a hurry, right? And I heard Sarah ask what's important to the clients, but what I got from you and your response in that is that we kind of need to drill down and have it in the back of our mind. Be willing to push a little bit more, even if they don't give you what you're looking for from the question. That's what I got out of the engagement between you two.
Yeah, in a respectful manner, absolutely, right? You're going to encounter listing agents that don't answer the phone. I think I just spoke with an agent about this the other day. I'm still waiting to hear back from the listing agent. I said, write up the offer, get that offer written up. Just because you haven't heard back from the listing agent what's important doesn't mean you can't write it up, right? And if they come back and they do finally get back with you and you got to revise that offer, cool. But time is of the essence.
And if you don't hear back from them and you write up that offer and you email it, you can include in your message, hey, tried to get a hold of you. If there's anything else that your client needs that, because we weren't able to talk, let me know, and maybe we can make some adjustments or leave the door open for them to ask you for stuff.
Absolutely. So I'm going to pull up something. Can you guys see my email? I've taught a whole class about this. And I think it's super important. And again, this is the way I do it. You don't have to. This offer didn't get accepted, so I don't know how much. But the important thing is I want to teach you guys to be the type of agent that you want to work with, and that a listing agent is really going to pay attention to. This is my offer. This is my email. Okay, so this is Randall Goodson with what company is he with? Remerica. So Randall, right? And this was a funny one because I made a mental note of making sure that I spelt his name right. There's nothing worse than people, like it's something weird. It's like personal if you misspell their name. Please see the attached offer for your seller's consideration. My buyer is very well qualified and in a rental situation, offering the ideal terms to your seller. And I'm going to pick out offer highlights, right? These are all the things that are in the PA, right? But I will tell you what, guys. There's nothing worse as a listing agent, especially when you have a bunch of offers coming in, to get an offer with nothing like this. Sometimes you're just forwarded the transaction desk or the Docusign envelope that's signed. No, be the type of agent that you want to work with. Someone who's got their stuff together, someone that's professional and organized. Even if you're in a hurry. Says my Mac is dying. So I always enjoy putting this together, and I think it's really helpful, and I've gotten a lot of good feedback about it. Exactly, especially because they're going to open it up here. They're going to open it on their phone, right? Doesn't mean they're not going to review the offer, but it's important to give them the highlights here. And then,
and you know what, Matt? I found that is super helpful also because here, Greg, hold on one second. Is when I was getting so many offers, and everybody's PA is a little bit different. So if I was getting a Keller Williams, I knew where to look for these, little tweaks, but a lot of them are different. And I would, scan over them trying to find these things. And I would kind of miss it on some of them. And I'm like, wait, no, they said there's an escalation clause in here. Where is it? And so I would go back and track it down. But it was nice to have that summary so that I didn't miss anything, in the PA that I might have overlooked.
For sure. And I'm if you notice on here, I'm highlighting, I'm trying to make my client's offer seem really great, right? So the fact that I'm not including a home warranty, someone might say, well, why are you even putting it on there then? Because again, I'm trying to emphasize the fact that my client's offer is strong by not doing these things, right? And I'm going to provide a little context too. Again, that if it's occupancy, I'm going to maybe write a little bit more about it, or, I'm going to, again, making my client's offer seem as strong as possible. Please confirm that you've received the offer. Thank you. It's attached. Can you see this? Can you see the offer? Okay. Sometimes when you open up stuff, you can't. You guys notice address, offer to purchase, date. Right? You don't have to do exactly like this, but guys, you'd be amazed at how many is scanned, blah, 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 or the PAs, the first one's a lead-based paint. And then, Sarah, I was very adamant with you about this, right? Making sure it's in the right order. Guys, the type of agent that you are presenting your offer is going to be the type of agent that they want to work with. And if you don't have your stuff together, you don't cross your T's and dot your I's, it's going to show. It might be the difference between not accepting your offer or not.
Was that the date that you wrote the offer or the possible closing date?
No, the date that I submitted the offer. Yep, good question. So I've got the offer here. It's all signed. It's PA first, then occupancy addendum. Then they had this stupid form that I hated filling out. But again, if they've got one of these, sorry, bite the bullet and do it.
Hey, man.
Some agents do. Yeah.
Dumb question. How do you get everything on one, on one PDF? Is there a way to
just
combine
select
documents into one?
Yeah, you just select all the and combine it and download it as a PDF. But I'm not a DocuSign like master, so that's
I'll tell you, on DocuSign, you just check off each document that you want. And there's a little icon, a little button that's called Combine. And when you click Combine, it'll show you the list of every document, and you can click and drag them and put them in whatever order you want them to be in. Name it, and it'll save it in DocuSign as a PDF of all of those documents in whatever order it was that you sorted them. And then you can just download it and send it to whoever you want.
It also, when you get the notification everyone signed it in your email, if you click that review documents, it opens it up, and right at the top it says to download, it says as separate or combined, and it was just one click.
It just, if you happen to have a document in there, like let's say you happen to have them signing a buyer's agency contract in the same envelope, and you don't want that contract to be part of the submission, you could do it the other way. But you're right. You can download it right there from that completed envelope as well.
So I couldn't figure that part out. So you said when you're in DocuSign, then just separately.
Yep. When in a couple minutes here, as soon as Matt's done, I'll share my screen real quick and I'll show you. It's super easy.
One final thing, I don't want to belabor this, but you know, like the lender's letter and all that needs to go in too. So.
Yep.
There's also a
So guys, all this stuff, you know, when you send out an offer to a buyer, they're going to send a bunch of stuff that does not go with the offer. Right? That's for you, for compliance, right? Make sure you have the proper things that go with the offer.
You're on mute.
Can't hear you.
Sorry. So yeah, so just include the things that are relevant to the offer that you need to include. And then lastly, I always put the pre-approval at the end. So yeah, it's all one PDF. It's organized. I don't have to click through a bunch of things, and it's dated. Yeah.
I was just gonna say there's a website that you can get it's called PDF SAM, PDF SAM. It will combine, extract everything with PDF. So you can do single pages. So like if you took the home warranty one and you only want page 11, you can say just extract page 11 and it'll do that for you as well, if anyone's interested.
Also, wait, I'm on mute. Hold on, sorry.
Doug, can you put that in the chat, please?
You can. Sure. You can also just, there's a million workarounds to do things, right? If you want to extract like a page, I always go to print and print as a PDF, and I just print the one page I want, and it saves as a PDF somewhere. Anyway.
All right, we only have a few more minutes, so we're gonna move on to part 2 next week. But it's important you fire this off to the agent. I specifically asked for confirmation. I'm gonna follow this up with a phone call or text, depending on the conversation I had with that listing agent, especially if it's late at night or something like that. But I'm just gonna shoot him a text. I'm gonna say, hey, Randall, thanks again for taking my call earlier today. As I discussed, my buyers did write an offer, and I just sent it over to you via email. If you could confirm that you've received it, I'd really appreciate it. And then my name, Keller Williams Advantage. You guys would be amazed at how many people just send text messages with no signature in them. I don't know who it's from. I don't have your number saved, right? So every text I send, it's from Matt Marsupi and Keller Williams Advantage. And then wait, hopefully they respond, right? Yep, got it. Or via email, got it. You'd be amazed at how many times I've not received offers. They went to my spam, and the agent didn't follow up with me, and I didn't realize I was in my spam. So
I better hope it was a bad offer.
Yeah. So that's where we'll stop it for now. And Sharon's going to give us a little Docusign tutorial. We're going to wrap this up the second half next week.
Okay. Can you guys see this? So this is just the documents section. Phil, to what you were saying, I also go in here and I will upload my client's pre-approval letter sometimes, right? Or I can just attach it in my email as just a separate document. It doesn't have to necessarily be part of the whole PDF. So I'm going to say here that I'm going to include the home warranty, the the VA addendum, the PA, and my disclosure. And somewhere up here, I should have my seller's disclosure, right? Well, for the purpose of this, this is good enough. So I clicked off all the things that I want to include in my submission. You go up here to this little button that says combine. You see that? Click on that and it shows me everything, but I don't want to send it in this order. I want my PA to be first, and then I'm going to do my FHA addendum, then my home warranty stuff, and then my disclosure. And so then I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to call it test, right? Save. Whoops, where'd it go? And now it should be right here, right? So now I have all those documents saved in the order that I put them in. And then you have the choice of clicking this and emailing it straight to somebody, which I personally am not a fan of receiving things that way, so I don't do that. I will take this, I will download it, and then attach it to an email that I craft on my own.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I know Doug was saying that there's that PDF SAM that extracts the page 11. I would assume when you do it like that, or yours that you just did, does that include all the extra information pages? Because it's very long, just a bunch of information.
Are you talking about the
Home
warranty? Well, if you go into Dotloop and you just do the mortgage insurance, or I'm sorry, what did I say? Dotloop, sorry. The document that says America's Preferred Warranty Waiver, it's either a warranty or a waiver. This particular page is only the contract. It's not the whole thing.
Okay, how did you?
FYI.
Okay, so you were able to somehow do that where
it's in here. Like, it's not going to let me do it again. This is one of the things I hate about Docusign. Once you download it into a room once, it won't let you do it again. Let me see if I can.
But it'll show you a check mark.
Hey,
Right.
Sharon.
So see hold on one second. See right here where it says America's Preferred Warranty Waiver.
Okay.
It was under KW 140. It's right there.
And if it's not a waiver, if it's when they want
This one, see the one above it that just says home warranty? That's the big full booklet.
That's the big
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So you send that into when you're making an offer. I mean, when you pull that, it comes with it. How do we just get that one page?
No, that's what I'm saying. This one right here is just the one page.
Okay.
The one that says warranty waiver, it's either the invoice page or the waiver. It's just the one page. The
And
one
Ella,
above
I know it says waiver, but you fill that one out whether they're taking it or not taking it.
Okay.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
wonderful.
So it's either a warranty or it's signed as a waiver. I do not like the way it's named.
Okay.
You know, you can rename that.
Or a waiver. Well, we can't. It would have to
Yes,
be
we
Taylor.
can. No. You can.
Well,
When you
but
go in-
I'm not, I
when
can't
you-
hold on one second. I can't rename it for the whole market center. I can rename it for myself.
Correct. So
Right.
there is that option within DocuSign. When you pull up that form, there is
Yeah.
a rename option.
Right.
Um,
You
So
still
what-
need to know where to find it. Go
So
ahead.
the other one that has extra information, would that just be for your client?
Yeah. So
Okay,
you can email them the PDF so they can see what all the different coverages are.
Okay. Okay. I wish I would have known this before, but that's okay. You always learn something new that there's one page. That's what I was wondering. Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Sharon,
Yes, sir.
the addendum issue, I know in our office Facebook thing, Megan had mentioned that, Megan Dumont.
What addendum
And-
issue? What are we talking about?
What you can only use it once, right? And I
Oh,
was adamant, no, you can reuse it twice. No, I was wrong. So there's an addendum and then an addendum 2 in DocuSign. They're both blank. And once you use those two, then you'll just have to pull in a blank addendum from either Michigan, either GMAR or Michigan
So-
Realtors or something like that.
What I have done, because I've run into that problem as well, is I have saved a copy of that blank addendum as a PDF just on my computer.
Ooh,
So if I ever
that's
need to
another
do
idea.
another one, I just upload it right from my computer. I just go grab it. If it's something
you-
I feel like I'm going to use more than once, right? Because you have a buyer that might have multiple offers that you're working on.
Right. Right. And then you're able to fill that out within
Yeah, you just add
Docusign.
text boxes.
Okay.
Yeah, once
Good
it's
deal.
in
Good to
the
know.
envelope, you can do that. Yep. Anything else?
Interesting.
All right. Well, that was your tech minute. Was Tech minute with Sharon.
Well, thank you for that. I did not know
Thank
that.
you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we will see you guys on Monday, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you. I'll see you
Thanks,
tomorrow,
guys.
Sharon.
Bye. Who's
Yeah.
going to see me tomorrow? Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna see you tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I see you tomorrow too.
Okay. I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right.
Bye.
Sharon,
Bye.
can you stand for
Yes,
just one
ma'am.
quick second?
Sure.
I just have a question about the neighborhood nurtures.
Sure.
So when I'm sending those out, is it considered like a CMA already? Like those prices, like those are what the houses are going for
No.
in
Well,
the neighborhood, or?
No, what it's doing is just telling you what the market activity is, right? So certainly, if the person you're sending it to just so happens to have a home that has exactly the same bedrooms, square footage, if their home would happen to be a good comp for the ones that show up in that snap, then they could make some assumptions. But I don't know, and you can't know necessarily what houses that come up on the market are going to show up in that report as compared to what their home is. So it's a market snapshot more than saying it's a CMA.
Okay, so it's
That make
basically
sense?
just what they're selling for, like the market.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
what the neighborhood or whatever area you have picked happens to be moving at, right? It's market activity.
All right, cool. That's all I needed.
Cool.
Hey Sharon.
All right,
Sharon, I
thank
kind
you.
of get
Hi.
Have a good
Krista.
weekend.
Thank you, Angela. What's up, Michelle?
Okay, how you doing? Okay, so this is, of course, I'm new. I got a family friend who want me to list her house,
Mhm.
but she wants me to do 4% commission.
That means that you would only be taking 1% because as our company policy, we must offer 3% to the other agents. And because you haven't capped yet, the market center is required to receive a certain amount of company dollar on all of us. So it's something you would have to ask Pete, the broker, about, but my guess is that they wouldn't let you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I didn't want to anyway. Thanks.
There you go.
Have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow at 9:30.
All right, thanks. Bye. Anything else? We good? All right. So if you guys are in lunch, and make sure that you're doing your mock PA, right, to purchase a home. If you guys were in that and you're doing that, and just send it to me tomorrow.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
I was looking on the address you gave us to do the mock. I noticed this on the PRD, the square footage is smaller than what they have on the listing.
Okay.
Is that a flag?
Smaller by how much?
It is saying 944 on the PRD, and they have it on the listing as 1030.
I mean, for the purposes of putting an offer together, I think you could leave it, but it's something you might want to ask the agent, because PRD isn't always right either.
Okay.
Or maybe somebody put an addition on the house and they never went to the city to get it inspected and added.
Okay.
So sometimes that might be why it's different.
Okay.
Okay.
I know when I went to pull the forms, they didn't have all the forms in Docusign. They had, I pulled it under the buyer's agreement, the buyer's transaction, but I didn't see some of the forms there. So
They
I'm going
should
to-
all be in DocuSign. If you go to DocuSign and look at the library, hold on, let me share my screen. If you go to add DocuSign forms and under library, no, sorry. Here it says DocuForms library. If you go to DocuForms group and then click on this, there's a different packages, right? So you could look at purchase side forms and it'll show you everything that you need for a purchase agreement or that you might need, right? Depending on different addendums, you know, do you need occupancy? Do you not? Or you want to get radon inspected or don't you? You know, different things like that. But everything is definitely in this folder.
Okay, all right.
So go back and look through that. That's it?
Thank you, yes.
All righty. Okay. I will see you guys on Monday, whether it be for launch or for accountability. Okay? All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Ciao.